two of my favorite saints, or saints that hold a very important place in my heart. My name's Terry. I've been a parishioner for about 13 years, and a little known fact about me is for the better part of a decade earlier in my life, I was a submarine sailor in the United States Navy. One of the saints that I want to talk about is St. Brendan the Navigator. Now, St. Brendan the Navigator was in the early church, and he was born in Ireland in the southwest part of the country. He started in a monastery at age 6 and was ordained into to being a priest at age 26. But what St. Brendan is most famous for is St. Brendan's voyage. There's 26 chapters in the synopsis of his voyage. Some of the highlights are finding an island with a dog with some mysterious hospitality. There were no people, but there was food that was able to be there. One of the latecomers to his voyage actually stole from that island and was possessed by an Ethiopian devil, which St. Brendan had to exorcise, and that voyager did later pass on. Also, St. Brendan came upon Judas Iscariot and protected Judas Iscariot from the demons of hell for one night during his voyages. So St. Brendan had an affinity for the sea. There is a folklore that he was the first person to discover America, but it's been widely criticized. But at Cedar Rapids, we do have our own connection to one of the patron saints of seafarers. And in this case, she's actually the patron saint of naval forces, and that's St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Now, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is part of the patron saint of seafarers and specifically naval forces. She did have 2 sons that were sailors in the Navy, but that's not what she's most famous for. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton was the very first United States natural-born citizen to be canonized, and she was canonized in 1975 by Pope Paul VI. What Pope Paul VI said during her admission to sainthood was this: St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is a saint. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton is an American. All of us say this with special joy and with the intention of honoring the land and the nation from which she sprang forth as the first flower in the calendar of saints. Elizabeth Ann Seton was wholly American. Rejoice for your glorious daughter. Be proud of her. And know how to preserve her fruitful heritage. Now, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton was very important to the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church in the United States for a couple reasons. She was she created the very first convent in the United States, and it was recognized by the Catholic Church. She started the very first free Catholic school in the United States. And for that reason, she's also the patron saint of Catholic schools. Very near to my heart as being an ex-sailor, but still continue to learn about these saints. So I hope you learned a little bit about both these saints, St. Brendan and St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. And at St. Matt's, come grow with us.